Hello everyone, welcome to the GoCast Show. My name is Yu Hong and I'll be your host for today. And today in our studio we have Jenard Nair, a seasoned realtor who has been in the market for more than 10 years. Let's get to our questions. What does luxury really mean in Singapore's property market today?
Luxury shifts from mere square footage. It has gone into architectural excellence, premium material, and bonding it with concierge services and all that to meet the customer's needs. Now, a lot of the luxury market, they are very exclusive, large floor plate units with low density for more exclusivity. The layouts are much bigger to allow for entertainment and to make the living environment more grand. The other part of luxury is green mark certification and also private lift access direct to the unit. These are some of the hallmarks of a luxury development.
Why do people choose CCR over OCR or RCR?
It's very simple. Firstly, CCR properties primarily in the District 9, 10 and 11. And then there's also District 1 and 2, which comprise of Marina Bay area and Sentosa. Now, these areas, the land is limited and it cannot be replicated. It's very small, a limited amount availability. The other thing about it is these areas are also globally renowned, like Orchard Road, for example, Marina Bay, because Singapore is now a global city and the skyline is quite recognizable as Singapore's prime land. The other thing about it is also because the value gap is narrowing. From RCR and OCR, as you probably are aware, the per square footage pricing. Over time, the pricing has narrowed to OCR. So the gap between what is CCR pricing and what is RCR and OCR pricing, the gap has narrowed. And this is the time where it's, I believe it's the closest that it is. So there's value proposition there. And that is huge when it comes to property. The reason why people would, or rather I would recommend going to CCR instead of RCR and OCR is because you get more bang for your buck. And your profitability is that much higher. It's like if your price difference between buying a S-Class or a Bentley for that matter, S-Class is just cost a little bit more than a Toyota Camry. Which would you rather buy? Which would you rather be seen sitting in? So it's as simple as that.
Is CCR still prestigious and profitable in your opinion?
Definitely, because places like Orchard Road, Marina Bay and all that remain a globally recognized addresses. A freehold address functions not only as an asset that will grow, but also it's a wealth marker for global cities. Okay, people are drawn to globally recognizable address, particularly foreign investors coming in. Right? If you own these and you know there are people coming in, they would rather be investing in areas that are globally recognized, that they are drawn to, rather than outlying areas. And in my opinion, that is why CCR properties are more exclusive and also more desirable to investors and people who are looking for legacy assets.
What are 3 key factors affecting Singapore's property prices?
That's very simple to answer. 1, infrastructural upgrades, transformational plans. Transformation plans like the Greater Southern Waterfront, the Green Corridor. These are plans that the city planners have increased their output in terms of the kind of amenities, the kind of facilities that people are going to be experiencing in their immediate environment. The other thing is the demographic growth. There are high-earning local professionals and family offices coming into Singapore. These are key components. Now, the other thing is also foreign direct investments. Multinational corporations are setting up headquarters here. So, and these will bring with them high net worth individuals, high paying executives with their families. They'll be relocating in these areas. So they would want to live in areas that are more lifestyle oriented and also more exclusive, so that they rub shoulders with the right kind of crowd. And hope these will affect prices, so that when they come in here, not only are they earning more, but they are also they also own assets that stand the test of time and grow in that process. These are three factors that will actually help their assets grow in value, and reasons why people will want to come and buy. And these are why buyers will be coming in to buy these properties, and also the prices will appreciate over time.
Is CCR too volatile?
Actually, that's a very common misconception. CCR properties are known to store value much better than the other segments during global economic shocks. And if you look at the data, it actually shows you that it is a lot more stable during global shocks. And also the narrowing gap between RCR and CCR. These actually avert risk of holding on to them. That's why I use database analytics to show my clients on why CCR is, you should be looking at CCR in Singapore. And that also helps them to understand the factors better. Apart from that, developers selectively introduce certain measures, like they absorb certain duties, but in a very creative way. And this helps in the initial capital, upfront capital that you need to employ in order to acquire them. There are, I wouldn't say loopholes, because it kind of seems like a bad word, but there are opportunities to actually leverage on these sort of events.
Can locals afford CCR prices?
Interestingly, you asked that question. Now, actually, it is not as prohibitive as most people think. In fact, if you look at the data of the CCR market, right, you'll find that quite a lot of locals actually are investing increasingly into CCR market. In fact, if you look at the URA data, you can find that there are about 70 to 80% of people who buy CCR, who invest in CCR properties, are actually locals. So this goes against the coffee shop talk about how foreigners are always coming in and they're driving prices up and all that. You look at the cars, the type of cars that Singaporeans drive have all improved. So the affordability is there, but they seem to, sometimes because of these ramblings in the market and all that, people find that it is prohibitive, but actually it's not. So that's why I always recommend to my clients, look at the data, look at the price. Come, let's sit down and talk about it, and look at the prices really, get it down to the nitty-gritty, and then let's work on a plan. So it is affordable, but again, we need to get that blockage out first. All right? So this is what I encourage buyers to do. Don't listen to the white noise out there. Consider all the financial abilities that you have, and then work on a plan. I'll help you do it if you give me an opportunity. One more group of individuals. You see, now there are more and more multinational corporations and local millionaires that are coming up. So these are people that actually have the disposable income to actually invest in CCR properties, in luxury properties, not only for show, but to preserve their family's assets for generational wealth. So there are a lot of opportunities available if you look at it under the right lenses, which we want to provide you with.
Are resale losses actually quite common?
Historically, there are a few which are widely publicized, are restricted to like place during the 2007-2011 period, where during the market peak period. And they are also restricted more towards the hyper luxurious projects, right? Other than that, there's not much. You see, distress sales, it's a phenomenon that we were used to back in the 70s and 80s, you hear about fire sales, distress sales, bank repossession and all that. These days, you have that very rarely. You come across auctions where it's bank sales and stuff like that. But that's because of personal financial indiscrepancies. But on a market scale, there has not been that much anymore because the economic fundamentals are right. The financial prudence, people have gained more knowledge on how to manage their money better so that they don't get into this kind of a situation. So clients who come to me, what I do is I work on their finances. We have a frank and open discussion. We look at their finances. And if they don't need to sell at that point in time, they can wait it out if they have the ability to. Otherwise, if it is some kind of a critical state that they have to get by, then if they have to cut it at a loss, we try to minimize it so that it doesn't hurt them so much. Because when people hurt a lot, they tend to stay away all the way. We try and minimize that. We try to mitigate these sort of things because there are schemes out there that help them tie over. So these are ways we can help our buyers or our real estate investors as well.
Are post-launch condos still a good buy?
Yes, I would say so. Why? Because if you look at CCR, they come with a lot of sophistication. They come with a lot of good points that you want to, a lot of the boxes are ticked. Like, for example, they come with architecture where they are built by, dreamed of and created by world-renowned architects who have built over their years of experience. They've come up with ideas to create environments that people naturally engage with, naturally are drawn to, right? They use technology that most places don't offer to make life easier. All these things come in a lot of CCR projects. Now, yes, during the launch phase, there is basically FOMO. There's long queues. There are lots of people, thousands even, are queuing up to see the place, see what the offering is due to FOMO, fear of missing out. Now, that's why prices are also in that frenzy stage. You can't really sit down and think during that launch phase. So that's why there's all this fear generated in you, right? Whereas in a post-launch phase, you get to see what is available. You can analyze, you can sit down and look at the layouts, you can analyze, and you also have the benefit of looking at checking it against the prices of nearby condos, whether it's new launches themselves or resale properties. And you can then make a decision without that added pressure of, I need to quickly put in my offer or someone else is going to take it away. You have that little bit extra time to actually consider your options before acting upon them.
Do CCR condos have reliable rental demands?
CCR properties are the executives magnet, multinational corporation executives, C-suite expatriates, and diplomats prioritize CCR Central Business District properties and international schools. So they are drawn to these facilities. Now, tenants are willing to pay premium rent on these because they know staying close to their workplace or close to the town is going to cost more because of all the conveniences that it comes with. So there is a lot of potentials for that. Now, apart from that, if you think about it, the upwardly mobile executive types, they are paid by the hour. If you take their salary and you divide that by the hours they spend doing their work, it costs a lot more. Would these guys have the time and patience to commute? Sometimes about an hour and a half, just one way to and from. It's going to take a lot of stress, even though our public transportation network is among the world's best. But you still have the stress of crowded trains. You can't get taxi rides or, private hire car service as and when you want it all the time. So all these things add to the stress in their lives. So they would rather not have to deal with that and stay close to their workplace. It just makes sense, right? And that's why the properties in the central business district or nearby these areas command a higher rent, and they are more palatable for these sort of people.
Will CCR prices grow?
Most definitely. Because the land where CCR is, namely District 9, 10, 11, and part of 1 and 2, right? It's very limited land, and there's not going to be any more land for the foreseeable future, right? And because of that, there won't be very many new buildings coming up. There's no land. So the scarcity makes it prime. The other thing is also regulatory cooling measures have taken away speculative purchasing. In view of that, the baseline of sustainability in organic growth. So there's not much room for speculation. And also, prime real estate is an excellent long-term hedge for global monetary debasement or for financial calamities for that matter. So because of these, CCR properties are poised for growth, and all the data points towards it. And this is why I need to show data to clients and make a data-based approach to investing in Singapore properties.
What are the pros and cons of buying a post-launch condo?
The key is not whether the units are balanced or they are launch day, but whether the fundamentals are correct, like location, the demand, rental yield, long-term scarcity. Are they present in these developments? The price is relative to the intrinsic value, right? So in my opinion, there are a lot of pros in there, but I just don't want to sell you the world and give you a map. I want to show you what there are also pitfalls in these. The best facing units, the more desirable units may be taken up during the launch phase. I don't deny that. Same thing, the remaining units may be less attractive in terms of layout or whatever, but that's not always the case. Because during the launch phase where there's FOMO, developers usually release the units that are harder to sell. Why? Because emotions are high and the frenzy of people snapping it up. This is the time to also release some of their not so popular units. Why? Because there is that frenzy, that feeding frenzy that they need to sustain and they need to provide for. They can't sell all their good units out during launch day. So there are good units that may be left behind. But then the opportunity cost is waiting for you. The balanced unit may not always pan out because, like, for example, the Sky at Holland, the launch weekend, 98% of the launch was sold right on launch weekend. If you had waited for post-launch, it's not going to happen. So because of these things, there are flaws as well. But are they consistently the negatives? So this is where we need to also sit down and consider, do you want to go and feed when there is a frenzy? Or would you rather take like the Warren Buffett's approach, which is the fundamentals must be strong. Don't always buy at the first drop of an offer.
How are the current geopolitical events affecting Singapore property market?
Okay, let's look at it in a pragmatic way. Leave emotions aside, all right? Let's look at it in that way. Now, in Asia, Japan's population is heavy on the aged. So they are an aging population. The young executive mobile ones are leaving. They chase economic well-being over family fortunes. They have this economic migration. So there is a huge part of Japan that is virtually uninhibited or very scarcely populated. There's a lot of properties to be snapped up very cheaply. But then what are you buying for? You're looking for renters. Are renters going into these areas? Okay, so that takes Japan out. Now, Taiwan and Korea are actually facing war with their immediate neighbors. China is threatening Taiwan, so there's all these implications. North Korea is not happy with the South Koreans. So these two basically, they take themselves out of the equation. That leaves Thailand and Indonesia. Their political situation is very, very precarious at best of times. So which also leaves Singapore and Malaysia. But Malaysia, yes, it offers cheaper solutions to Singapore. So yes, but they have their maintenance of their properties is widely lacking. Okay, the first couple of years it may look good because that's how they are built, but over time it's dilapidated, and you sometimes wonder where your sinking fund is going, which leaves Singapore. Now, if you look at Singapore and Hong Kong, ever since it's gone back to China, it's been thinning out. Expats have been leaving, MNCs have been leaving, all for whatever reasons, right? So which leaves Singapore. Singapore is the shining star in Asia. Recently, with the war in between Iran and US and all that, you must have come across articles which talks about how the expats are leaving in droves and taking their money with them. Where else can they go? Europe? Europe is in the doldrums of financial difficulties. So Singapore, there are reports, Henley reports in the UK saying, if I remember correctly, 140 to 160,000 millionaires have left with their possessions. And from what I understand, up to about 1,600 or thereabouts are coming Singapore way. And these are millionaires with assets. And they need to be housed. And where are they going to be housed? Not in RCR, not in OCR, because what they know is the city center. And that's where they're going. So when they come in, they won't be the ones going to the launches. They'll be buying in the secondary market. So let me ask you this question. Do you want to sell them RCR properties, or do you want to sell them CCR properties? If you are trying to sell, which would you rather be owning?
Are Singapore properties still considered a safe haven?
To answer this, I point you in the article in Age Property. Based on that article, Dubai's population is roughly 3.92, I believe, 3.95 million as of June 2025. And up to 92% of them are expatriates, according to Dubai's Statistics Center. Now, when Iran war went across their borders to their neighboring countries and hit Dubai, these expats fear for their lives. They were there to make money, but now their lives, their families' lives at stake. Their family's wealth is at stake. So they have cleared out and they have been leaving in droves. And a lot of them, according to reports, even in the Straits Times, a lot of them have been inquiring about moving to Singapore. Why? Because it is a sparkling city, just like Dubai. Maybe not as sparkling, but yet it's a safe haven. It's stable politically and with their neighbors. So there's safety in that. Now, with that said, there are also other implications, like the increased liquidity has actually affected interest rates. Interest rates in the last few quarters has come down. Now you can get interest rates for borrowing, mortgage rates at 1.35%, even 1.6%. And these are low interest rates. Even when you compare it with your neighboring countries, this is going to release liquidity in the market, right? And when that happens, you've got more buyers coming out to purchase things, apart from the incoming foreigners. The other thing is the Singapore dollar is also strengthening against the US currency. That's another advantage. And apart from this, there is these 5 countries, nationals, that can buy Singapore properties with just like Citizen can, right? These are the 5 nations that is well documented in the market. So all these reasons, yes, Singapore seems to be a safe haven.
What is the projection of Singapore property prices?
The Singapore property market is entering a balanced phase. Slower growth, strong fundamentals, and disciplined supply. Prices are plateauing at the rise. There's a sharp fall, or rather, a sharp fall is unlikely given that land scarcity and the government regulating the market and resilient demand. All these points to the prices being stable. If you look at the graphs that are widely available in the internet, right? When you look at the graph of the price rise and drops, you don't see sharp rises, nor do you see sharp falls. So the prices are stabilizing. So just to give you an updated overview, if I may, the CCR properties new launch prices hover between 2,005 and 4,005 for the ultra luxurious projects. RCR, they're looking at between 1,900 per square foot to 2,800 per square foot. These are close to the CCR projects, just on the outskirts. And the outside core central area, they are looking at between 1,400 to 1,900 per square foot. And they are all very affordable because of the new style of building. And these make it very palatable, whichever segment you are interested in investing and to grow your wealth.
What if the property prices actually crash in Singapore?
It is highly unlikely. The government will not allow that to happen. Why I say this is because private home prices have been stable. So why would they crash? The increases have moderated. In 2025, the price growth has slowed down to between 3.3 to 3.4% on quarter in 2025. Demand has been stable. HDB upgraders, first-time buyers, and investors. So demand has been there. Supply line has been regulated. So there's not a huge amount out in the market that prices start to fumble. When I explain to my clients, I show them the graphs, I show them data where what the annual consumption in the current market is, as opposed to what is the supply that is available for them. And there's not been enough supply for the amount of buyers. In fact, in the next 2 to 3 years, there will be a deficit. So all these things point to prices actually appreciating, not depreciating, or to answer your question, whether or not it's going to crash. So it's definitely not going to crash. This is what I can tell you based on the data that I have. And this is solid proof because it's not me. I'm not using tarot card or a parrot to pick up, I don't have a crystal ball, but it's all data driven. Hope that takes away your fear of a market crash.
Is today's market a property price bubble?
In order to answer that, we need to look at the data. And what the data shows, again, as I explained earlier, there's no sharp increases, there's no sharp drops. So the prices have been stable. Why? Because cooling measures, right? They are specifically to stabilize market and to take away the speculation, right? B, the loan to value mortgage regulations. That again prevents people from over leveraging and getting themselves into trouble and then having to divest. The other thing is the SSD, the seller stamp duty. So in 3 to 4 years, it used to be 4 years. Now they've cut it down to 3 years. So to say when you buy it now, if you want to sell, there are penalties. So that again takes away speculation. So these are things that prevents a bubble from forming. So if you want to invest, do your research. If you need help, come talk to us. We will show you with data what is available widely out there, which we take very carefully into consideration, and we will tailor it to your solution. But it's not data that we derive. These are data that is widely available, but we point you in that direction so that you make correct, informed decisions into your investment.
So that's all the questions we have. Stay tuned for the next episode.